Alright, so the cat is on the lab. This is my lab where I bring my samples. So this morning I thought I would share a little bit about the forms that lichens come in. So if you are just starting out like I am, you probably want to go beyond just finding lichens and really identifying them. So there are three broad forms in which lichens come, and I'll start out with the first one, which is Crustose. So a Crustose lichen is the one that sometimes they say it looks like it's been spray painted on. You couldn't get your finger under there, you couldn't scrape it off. If you wanted to take this to a lab, you'd actually have to cut that off. The substrate, which is what the lichen is sitting on, whether it's a rock or a branch or even if it's on the ground, that's the substrate. And this is pretty much connected right to the substrate. You can see. And the kitty is very interested. It looks like she really likes Crustose lichens, but I think she likes all lichens. But she seems particularly interested right now in our Crustose. So you can look on there, and sometimes if you get close enough, you can see. Now this one, those black dots are, you can see that that's from the wood itself. But if we honed in even closer, we'd probably see some sort of dots or something that would represent the way that it reproduces. So here is another Crustose. As you can see, that is on there pretty tight. There's no getting that off of there. You'd have to peel off the bark if you wanted to take that into the lab. So that's Crustose. Now, one of the most common ones that you'll see are Foliose lichens. Foliose lichens are where you could definitely get your finger under there. This thing is called a thallus. The thallus is the body of the lichen. And I really would suggest you look up the thallus, because as a beginner, I'm not going to be able to describe this adequately. But basically, it's kind of the unit upon which other things, you might have apothecia, which is a reproductive organ, and also other things. But the thallus, you could scrape that right off. So as you can see, and there are other kinds of Foliose as well. We'll come to the other side here of the log, and we'll look at other types of. Now here's a good Foliose. You can definitely see that this is a Foliose. In fact, some of the thallus is coming right up off of it there. And the sexual organs I was telling you about, apothecia, are those discs right here, if you're curious. Those are the way that lichen, which produce sexually, one of the ways is apothecia, and those are called apothecia, singular apothecium. But you can see here the thallus is just, you could definitely get your finger off of that, or underneath of that, and pull that off. Now, my favorite type of lichen is Fruticose. I love Fruticose. These are the bushy ones. And they're not as common if you're living in a polluted area. It's kind of an earmark of clean air is that you'll have a lot of Fruticose lichen. So sometimes it's a little hard to tell. You might have one that looks a bit like a Fruticose. It's kind of maybe a little bit stringy, and it's hard to tell if it's Foliose or Fruticose. One of the ways to tell, if you see, there's two ways actually. If you see a Fruticose, see if there's a top and a bottom to it. So if it is a Foliose, it will have a top and a bottom, usually a different color, at least often. I don't know how often, because I am new, but you can see that this is green, and on the bottom it's kind of whitish. You can see that that Foliose definitely has a top and a bottom. So if you see one like this, and it's sometimes a little thicker, And you're thinking, is that a Foliose or Fruticose? That's one way to find out. Another way to find out, this is a Fruticose as well. And if you'll notice, here at the end, there's a little protrusion sticking out. That's because the person that helped me with this showed me that if you pull off a segment of this and pull it apart, you're going to find a little piece in the middle like that. It's almost like myelin sheath or something. So you will see that in Fruticose lichens. And I don't know if it's in all Fruticose lichens or just in Usnea. This is Usnea. And I have had that verified by a lichenologist. So this is Usnea. It's a Fruticose called Usnea. And as we go further, we will try to get into classification and actually finding at least to genus, and if we're lucky, to species. I do also want to point out that if you have a twig or a branch or anything, there can be many different types of lichens on one branch. If you'll notice, it's got Fruticose here, it's got Foliose here, and this probably actually is Crustose. So you probably have all three on this branch. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Alright, so next time we'll try to get into an actual classification of at least one. Maybe I will do this Usnea and take it all the way down, from kingdom all the way down to species. That might be interesting. Alright, thanks for watching.